Welcome to the podcast where I don't try to convert people to Republican or Democrat. I just want people to use their brains on whichever side they are on, and try to show how both sides at their bases are so alike. But we have allowed extremists from both sides to take over. Now, I am a conservative, so I do naturally see things through this filter, but it doesn't matter if you're more liberal or more conservative. We can still, in fact, talk and work things out. This country cannot and should not run on just one thought process alone. Today, I would like to talk about how the extremists have taken over TV and made it seem like everybody else in the country is at war with each other. Now, I've seen on TV where they're talking about how everybody in the country is just tearing each other apart, how we can't live with one another, how this place is just gone to crap. But I get on the social media websites and everyone really seems to say the same thing in a different way, but they say the same thing. They want the same things until it comes to their candidate, their party. When it comes to their candidate, their party, that's when we get obsessed. That's when we can't see eye to eye because we're not allowed to see eye to eye. Let's take political leaders like AOC. Even the crazy ones on the left admits that she's just too crazy. But we can't say anything about it because she's on the left. Better than having someone on the right, right? And it goes for both sides. Both sides are exactly this same way, whether they're crazy, whether anything. It doesn't matter. As long as they've got a D behind their name or whether they got an R behind their name, that's what we need. This two-party system that we find ourselves in has relieved us of having to think about anything at all. When we go to the voting booth, all we got to do is say, who's the Democrat, who's the Republican. And most of the time, it really depends on what area you live in as to whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. You don't have any real say in which one you want to be. It's whichever is socially acceptable in your area, and that is key to what is going on these days. Let's take Hollywood for instance. Does anyone actually remember when Hollywood just made movies? Now they've become a political hotbed for the left. This is not because they actually believe this way. This is because in their area, it is socially acceptable to be on the left. The only problem is this group has, well, let's take Westerns, for example. These were all about the cowboy riding in, getting the girl, and riding off into the sunset. Now this is not historically accurate. When you're talking about the Old West, this is a very, very hard lifestyle. This was people just trying to survive. What we think of as cowboys were far and few between. Now, in these same movies, they always showed women being disrespected and put down, treated like common filth. Now, at this time in history, women weren't considered equals. That's the fact. But they were shown respect. Everybody knew you showed the women respect. Now, these movies are what people actually believe happened because they don't want to pick up a history book. They just want to see something on TV that reassures them of their ideas and what they've been told happened. Then the area around Hollywood starts going to the left. Now, what is a movie company to do when they've said that women were disrespected and men ruled everything? Because on the left, you cannot admit guilt. That is the one thing about being on the left, is you cannot say that you was wrong. Do whatever it takes to not say you was wrong. Because if you say you was wrong, that is you going back on your word. Can't have that. So what we've got is a lie being covered up by another lie. And what's crazy is it's covered up by your own lie. Because you can't go back and say, oh, well, yeah, women, they were treated with respect. We lied about that. So now you got to say, listen to our movies. We even told you, look back here. We even told you women weren't treated with respect. Hollywood has got to push this line extremely hard. Because if anyone stops and actually looks at a history book, actually looks at anything in history, everything is going to come unraveled. And this is what we find ourselves in today. The extremists just trying to cover themselves up for their misdeeds. Now let's look at the LGBTQ+. It stopped being enough for these extremists for people just to not care that it should be everyone loves them at all times, no matter what's going on, above all else. But this is not the way the country's supposed to be ran. But this is the way they want it to be ran. When everyone gave them the inch of saying, okay, nobody cares, live and let live, this was not enough. They decided that this was going to be one of their weapons. And they turned to Hollywood, famously known for bending the truth, distorting reality, and said, we need this pushed as hard as possible. And it was very easy for them. At this point, all they really had to do was just make you forget about the inch that was given. Now this has become really easy to make you forget about the inches that keep on giving up, because all they got to say is, them Republicans, they still just hate them. They don't come out and say they nothing them, that nobody cares anymore. It's that they still hate them. And instead of everyone getting together and saying, okay, do you hate them? Do you like them? Do you nothing them? Everyone jumps to their side and says, this is what I was told. Now, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent to me. The only problem is you will never be innocent to them. Because each day they hear on the TV more and more about hate. And I know I'm talking a lot about the left. But this is done on the right too. It's done from both sides. Both sides, all they do is just push their agenda no matter what it takes. You can watch on TV, the right will get left-wing extremists on there. The ones that are a mouthpiece that just scream everything they've heard on TV, don't understand a word of what they're actually saying, and they'll put them on this TV show and they'll say, we're going to tear them apart. Because these extremists, they don't actually understand, they don't really know, and they don't care about what they're actually saying. They're a mouthpiece, they want their 15 minutes of fame, that's it. Nothing else matters. The right does this, the left does this. No one sits down with normal people and says, what do you believe? Because nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear what the normal person believes. They want to hear what the extremists believe. And this extreme nature is what has led us to today. We've got kids eating Tide Pods. And I don't actually know if they're truly eating Tide Pods because I don't care. But this is what they're pushing, because now they can say, oh, you've got to protect us from this. You've got to do this. And it's become commonplace to replace common sense with lawsuits. Now, if they can show that it is possible for someone to take a Tide Pod, put it in their mouth and eat it, is it the responsibility of the person that put it in their mouth and ate it? Or is it the responsibility of the person that made it? Today, it is the responsibility of the person that made it. Because nobody will go out there and say, hey, use your head. This is made for washing clothes, not putting in your mouth. Nobody wants to go to the parents and say, stop your kids from putting laundry detergent in their mouth. How have we grown from a culture that says eating Tide Pods is okay, but telling someone that they're stupid for eating Tide Pods is not okay? But it comes back to them being able to say, oh, look at these laundry detergent companies. All they're worried about is making money. They don't care about people. Yeah, these kids, they don't know not to eat these, and we as parents are not obligated in no way to tell our kids to not do something. How is that our responsibility as parents, as guardians of these kids, to not do something? We've grown into a country that 15 minutes of fame on TV is worth every bit of common sense that is lost to get it. We've grown into a country where we don't care how many innocent get hurt. We do not care how stupid, how crazy we have to look as long as we get on that TV. And we do not care what people are saying on the TV. All we care about is what we're supposed to believe, what the people that's on TV tell us to believe. The extremists from both sides are the downfall of this country. We are letting them have the power, which in turn is giving it to the federal government, because we don't want to look bad on TV. We don't want to look bad on social media. We want to go with whatever the status quo for our area is.